My sister volunteered to handle our family's tax filing after our parents passed. Months later, I got audited and owed thousands. She said, "You were never good with numbers anyway." I hired a forensic accountant who found the accounts she opened in my name. When the IRS came to her door. When my mom died last April, I lost the last person who ever truly protected me. Dad had passed 3 years before that. He and I were never close. He was strict, worked a lot, didn't talk much unless he was yelling. But Mom? She was always there. When I got divorced, when I lost my job, when I got sick for a while and couldn't pay rent, she helped. Quietly, kindly. My sister, Angie, always acted like I was the screw-up. She's 4 years older, always the top of the class, the one with the big wedding and 2 kids. She had a steady job at some financial firm in Amarillo. Her husband, Greg, worked in real estate. Together, they made decent money. Lived in a big brick house with a yard. Drove newer cars. Posted their vacations online. After the funeral, Angie stepped right into a leadership role, like always. She stood in Mom's kitchen, sleeves rolled up, barking out what needed to be done. She said we had to sort the will, handle the taxes, deal with Mom's accounts. I was still reeling from the loss. My son, Tyler, kept asking where Grandma was. I just didn't have it in me to argue. So when Angie offered to handle everything, said she'd take care of the estate paperwork, the taxes, the bank forms, I agreed. "I know this stuff," she said. "You're already dealing with enough. I've got it." She sent me a few papers to sign through email. She explained them fast, like she was in a hurry. "Just estate forms, routine stuff," she said. "Sign them so I can move forward." So I did. Months passed. I didn't ask questions. I figured she'd split everything fair. That's what Mom would have wanted. I wasn't expecting much anyway, maybe the car, some of Mom's savings, the house sale to be split. I didn't need much. Then, in February, I got a letter from the IRS. I thought it was junk mail at first. But when I opened it, my stomach dropped. It said I was being audited. Claimed I had undeclared income, suspicious financial activity, and interest gains from multiple accounts. I called the IRS. The woman on the line confirmed it. According to them, I had over $120,000 in account activity and investment returns over the past year. I laughed out loud. I don't have that kind of money. I work warehouse shifts. I don't invest. I can barely pay for gas. I called Angie right away. She sounded irritated. Not surprised, irritated. "Why are you calling me at work?" she asked. "I just got audited," I said. "They think I've got accounts I never opened." She paused, then said, "You probably forgot something. You never were good with numbers." That sentence hit me like a punch. Like she'd been waiting to say it. Like this was somehow my fault. "You handled the taxes," I said. "I signed what you told me to sign." She got cold. "Well, if you didn't read what you were signing, that's on you." Then she hung up. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept playing it over in my head. The forms, her smug voice, that damn sentence. I knew her. I knew how she operated. But this was worse than I ever imagined. I called a friend of mine, Jerry. He used to work corporate, now he does consulting. I told him everything. He gave me a name, Gary Owens. Forensic accountant. Older guy. No nonsense. I met Gary at a diner outside of town. Gave him everything, the IRS letter, copies of the forms, even old emails from Angie. He didn't promise anything. Just said, "I'll see what shakes loose." It took him 19 days. He came to my place with a binder full of evidence. He laid it all out. There were 4 accounts opened under my name, 2 in Texas, 1 in Nevada, 1 in Delaware. All tied to the estate. All using my social security number. Angie had routed over $100,000 from Mom's accounts into those, then moved them again into IRAs and trading platforms. And the profits from those? That's what the IRS saw. That's what triggered the audit. Gary said, she built this to look clean. But she messed up. Left a few trails. I couldn't believe it. She used me, I said. He nodded. She counted on you not noticing. I sent everything to the IRS. Scanned and emailed every page. 3 weeks later, Angie called. 10:23 p.m. I'll never forget that time. You have no idea what you've done, she hissed. The IRS came to my house. In front of my kids. You did this to yourself, I said. I did it for the family. For our future. No, I said. You did it for yourself. And you thought I was too dumb to figure it out. She hung up. That was just the beginning. After Angie hung up, I sat in silence for a long time. I felt a mix of rage and shame. She'd been stealing from me for nearly a year, and I hadn't even seen it coming. The next morning, I got a call from my aunt, Mom's sister, Lorraine. She lives in Abilene. What the hell is going on? She asked. Angie's saying you reported her to the IRS and tried to get her arrested. I told her the truth. All of it. I told her about the fake accounts, the audit, the forensic accountant. I sent her the scanned files Gary gave me. She was quiet. Then she said, I always knew she was too slick for her own good. Your mom trusted her too much. I thought that would be the end of it. But it wasn't. A week later, I was served court papers. Angie was suing me for defamation. Said I damaged her reputation, caused emotional distress, and created financial harm to her business. She claimed I'd lied to the IRS and slandered her name to family members. I couldn't believe it. I called Gary. He laughed. She's panicking, he said. She knows she's caught. This is a distraction. Still, I was scared. I didn't have a lawyer. I didn't have money. I couldn't even afford a full tank of gas some weeks. I started calling around and found a woman named Daria, a young attorney who just opened a solo practice. She agreed to take my case on a sliding scale. When we got to court, Angie showed up in a navy pantsuit, looking polished and smug. Her husband Greg sat behind her. He didn't even look at me. The hearing was short. Daria laid out everything, Gary's findings, the IRS audit, the accounts in my name, my signed papers that had been filled out by Angie beforehand. The judge didn't dismiss it immediately, but he did say, I want to see more documentation. If this is true, Ms. Hughes, that's Angie's married name, you're in serious trouble. That was the first time I saw her face crack. Then came the second twist. Gary called me again. He'd kept digging. Turns out, he said, your sister also opened an educational fund in your son's name. Without your consent. And she used it to transfer more money. She labeled it as a scholarship fund. I felt my blood go cold. She involved Tyler? He sighed. It gets worse. One of the accounts she created listed you as the co-owner and her as the beneficiary. In case something happened to you, she would have access to all of it. She didn't just want to hide money. She wanted control. Long term. I called Daria. She said, that changes everything. We filed a counterclaim. Fraud, identity theft, and financial abuse. And then the IRS froze her accounts. That's when her perfect little life started to fall apart. 2 weeks after the court filed the freeze order on Angie's accounts, I got a call from Greg. I didn't even recognize the number. He'd never called me before. When I answered, his voice was tight. Is it true? He asked. Everything you're saying in court. Did Angie really do all that? I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to yell at him, blame him for being blind to what she was doing. But I just said, yeah. She used my name. She dragged my kid into it too. He was quiet. Then he said, I thought she was managing things for the family. She told me you were unstable. That you couldn't be trusted with money. I laughed once. Bitter. Of course she did. That's when Greg dropped a bomb. She's been moving money from our joint accounts too, he said. I started checking after your court stuff. There are wire transfers I didn't authorize. Investments under a shell company I've never heard of. I sat back, stunned. Do you think she used your name too? I asked. He didn't answer right away. I don't know, he said. But I'm talking to a lawyer tomorrow. That was the beginning of Angie's real downfall. Her husband started looking through old tax filings. Turns out, she had been hiding money from him for years, moving small amounts into secret accounts. She always said she was managing the budget, so he never questioned it. But now the mask was off. He filed for legal separation 3 days later. Froze their joint assets. Filed a formal complaint through his lawyer. I didn't even have to do anything, she was destroying herself. The next week, the IRS called me again. Not just to talk about my audit. They wanted to ask more questions about Angie's financial history. Turns out, some of the transfers she made matched transactions they were already investigating from a different case. She had tied herself to something bigger than just our family. And then another twist dropped. Gary found out that one of the investment firms Angie used wasn't just for profit, it was tied to one of her clients from work. She'd used their money too, shuffled through fake accounts under different names, including mine and possibly others. That meant she didn't just screw me. She committed real financial fraud against clients. That made it federal. After Gary found the client connection, everything moved fast. The IRS opened a formal criminal investigation. They brought in a federal investigator from Dallas. I handed over every email, every file, every signed form Angie ever sent me. Greg handed over his too. Then came the real explosion. Angie's firm found out what she did. She wasn't just moving my money or Greg's, she had rerouted funds from 2 of her longtime clients. Elderly people. Retirees. She used small transfers, hiding it through dummy LLCs. Once they saw that, they fired her on the spot. Blacklisted her from the industry. Then the Fed stepped in. She was arrested at her home on a Thursday morning. Greg called me after it happened. Said their daughter was the one who answered the door. Angie tried to tell the agents she was being framed. Tried to say I had hacked her computer. But they had everything. Email records. IP logs. Transfer histories. Handwriting on the forged forms. The local news picked up the story the next day. Local financial advisor arrested in multi-state fraud case. Her picture was all over it. Even co-workers came out of the woodwork, sharing stories about how she'd always bragged about being smarter than the IRS and playing the system. Greg filed for full custody of the kids. He got it. Her kids didn't even want to see her after the arrest. Her daughter messaged me privately on Facebook. Said, "I'm sorry for what she did. I had no idea. Thank you for telling the truth." In court, Angie pled not guilty at first. Her lawyer tried to say she was mentally exhausted after Mom's death. That she had made some mistakes under pressure. But the prosecutors had everything. The fake signatures. The trail of money. Even a recorded phone call where she bragged to a friend about securing the estate the smart way. She took a plea deal to avoid a longer sentence. Got 8 years in federal prison. 4 for fraud, 2 for identity theft, and 2 more for client exploitation. She lost her license. Couldn't work in finance ever again. The court ordered restitution. I was awarded the full $112,000 she stole. Plus interest. Greg got back what she took from him too. Even her clients got compensated through the firm's insurance. She lost everything. The house? Sold to pay legal fees. The cars? Gone. Her reputation? Destroyed. But that wasn't the end. I didn't just want the money. I wanted peace. So I used the restitution to finally buy a small house here in Lubbock. Nothing fancy, just mine. I opened a savings account for my son, in my name. I hired a real accountant to handle everything. And I learned. I sat with Gary and let him teach me how to read my own bank statements. How to track money. How to spot lies. I changed. I wasn't the guy who let people walk over him anymore. And Angie? Last I heard, she tried to appeal her sentence. Denied. She's in a women's prison outside El Paso. Minimum security, but still prison. No pearls. No blazer. Just a jumpsuit and numbers on her chest. Her kids don't write her. Greg remarried last month. I wasn't invited, but I heard about it through family. Some cousins still blame me for breaking the family apart. But I don't care. She broke it when she decided her greed mattered more than her brother, more than her clients, more than her own kids. She thought I was too stupid to notice. She was wrong.